What are some of the common mistakes people make when moving to Kitchener, Ontario? That's what this video is about. Today we're going to talk about the 5 common mistakes people make when oftentimes moving to Kitchener and surrounding towns, or maybe in other words, choosing a place or buying a place in Kitchener, Ontario. So if you're a buyer looking to move to Kitchener, then definitely stick around because I can assure you these are some of the mistakes that can cost you thousands of dollars and are worth avoiding. After all, we always say, learn from others' mistakes so you don't make it on your own. So that's what this video is about. Stay tuned. Let's get right into it. And just before we dive right into it, in case this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, playing, working in and around Kitchener, Ontario, then subscribe to the channel and tap on the bell for notifications so you can be the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener. My name is Dixit. I'm a local real estate agent serving Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo and surrounding areas. I do get calls, texts, emails from people just like you who are looking for help in making their move in and around Kitchener, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, you can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or you can even schedule a Zoom call. All the info right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Kitchener. All right, so number one thing I want to tell you is to avoid overextending yourself when it comes to buying a home. Home purchase is more of an emotional decision than the financial decision. So oftentimes it's a combination of both, and that's where many buyers fall into the trap where, especially if they like the home too much, they will get carried away with it. And especially in the multiple offer situation, seller will, try to make the most out of it and, try to get you to pay more than what the house is actually worth. And more than that, you need to have a clear idea and do your homework before you even get into the market about how much mortgage you can really afford and qualify for. Affordability and qualification are two different things. Many times, qualified buyers will come to me and say, well, in terms of qualification, we can qualify up to 900, but in terms of affordability, ideally with the lifestyle we want to maintain, we don't want to go beyond 750 or 800. So just know that there's a clear, difference between what you can afford and what you can qualify for. And knowing that ahead of time, having that clarity in mind will go a long way for you as you go into that offer process. Secondly, about your down payment readiness, right? How much down payment you really have to pay for the house. And knowing that, let's say there is a lower limit and then there is a higher limit. For example, a client might tell me that, Dharmik, we can go up to 750, but for the right home, we might be able to extend up to, let's say, 8 or 825. So you can see there is a clear lower limit and then there is a higher limit. Anything about 825, we will definitely have to think multiple times before going and extending ourselves beyond that. So oftentimes we see buyers not having that clarity to actually end up paying way more than what they can afford. And after time, they have to adjust to their lifestyle and, run into some issues financially. And, things happen, right? Life can happen. Jobs loss can happen, health can happen, family situations can happen. So in terms of those emergencies, those people could face yourself with, such a financial difficulty. So avoid making those mistakes ahead of time, do your homework, and that will help you a long way. All right, so now that you've figured out your budget and your affordability and done some homework, the next step for you is to actually figure out what you can realistically find in that price point within the town of Kitchener, Cambridge, or Waterloo, or whatever that other town you may be looking into. But having a clear understanding of what you can realistically find and what's feasible and what's not feasible, because oftentimes you as a buyer, obviously you don't know what you can find in that price point of 8 or 9 in a given market. But that's where a job of a real estate agent comes to play, where we sit down with you and actually help you understand what you can find and what you cannot. Now, as a buyer, however, you can actually have a clearly noted down set of negotiables and non-negotiables. I always tell my clients, have a clear list of negotiables and non-negotiables as to what you're willing to let go versus what's a must-have for you. I'll give you a simple example. For a buyer, a neighbor, let's say young family with kids, a neighborhood with good school is a must-have. That's a non-negotiable. But maybe if they don't have a finished basement, well, they might be able to finish it down the road, right? So having a clearly defined set of negotiables and non-negotiables will definitely help you a long way in your home search. And, in terms of, what you're looking for, having that clarity and filter it down further from the get-go is what will go a long way and help you land a right place in a matter of, very short time. So that's what I always say. And be realistic with it, right? The mistake you want to avoid is not to be unrealistic with it, because oftentimes we see the buyer saying, oh no, you know what? I want to have let's say a double garage detached with 2,000 square feet, but my budget is only 900,000. And I do want to ideally live in a good neighborhood of Kitchener for a house that's not older than, let's say, 10 to 15 years. Now, I can tell you in today's market, even though we are kind of in the balanced market, it's not feasibly possible because, you will have to definitely go into the high nine, maybe into the million to be able to afford something like that. So, that's where it becomes so much important to be realistic with yourself and know what you can feasibly afford within that budget before you even go out and see some home. Now, one of the other common mistakes I oftentimes see the buyers making is to actually get carried away with the cosmetic upgrades in the home. And this is especially true with a lot of first-time home buyers. That's where, again, the job of a real estate agent comes to play to help the client understand the true value of those upgrades, and also noting that, the house is not a flip or there's not something materially wrong with the house other than, they might be trying to hide behind those cosmetic upgrades. I'm not trying to say that all of those homes with those renovations are a lemon, but what I'm trying to say is we have a lot of flippers in the KWC region, and oftentimes I actually do work with some investor clients who are doing exactly the same business where, we would buy a rundown home, we would renovate it, we have contractors, and they, once we renovate, we will put it back in the market in a matter of few months and trying to fetch a decent amount of money out of it. So those are some of the properties you want to pay closer attention to and make sure the bones, the structure, the foundation, and some of the key things are still in good shape, because some of the common things, for example, we see happen, like, to make the house look good are, upgrading light fixtures, door hardwares, getting a fresh coat of paint, getting a new flooring done. Now, I can tell you, these things does not cost you too much as you would think. But, oftentimes, as a first-time home buyer, like, again, as I said earlier, it is an emotional decision. So you might get carried away with the beauty of the house from what you see with your naked eyes, but, what's going behind the walls in terms of the structure, the bones, the foundation, those are the things that can cost you a lot more than some of these upgrades. So do pay attention to that and not get carried away rather than the cosmetic upgrades. Do pay attention to the overall integrity of the house and how it has maintained, whether the house really lives up to its true character or are they trying to hide something. That's, again, something to pay attention to and avoid that mistake of getting carried away by those cosmetic upgrades. And one of the other common mistakes we see people making oftentimes is work with an outside real estate agent who may not be as much familiar with the region, let's say KWC. We see a lot of GTA agents operating here, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe they know, many of them do know areas very well. But what I'm trying to say is all of us real estate agents are licensed to operate across Ontario. After all, it is provincially regulated. But the question you have to ask yourself as a buyer to get the most value out of your real estate professional is, is this person, the right person to do the job? Like, do they know the neighborhoods, the amenities, the streets, the good schools in the neighborhood, like things like that, right? And that's where working with a local real estate professional goes a long way. I always say, like, you want to know the neighborhood you're getting into, because it's not that easy to just liquidate and move out, God forbid, if you end up in a bad neighborhood. Other reason is to, know the neighborhood up front is because, for example, you can always get a bad house in a good neighborhood and still get a good return on investment. But the other way around, where you end up in a, bad neighborhood with a good house, well, the return on investment may not be as much, and you might end up losing some money trying to get out of that neighborhood. So that's where it becomes so much important to work with a local real estate professional who is familiar with the surroundings, the neighborhoods, the good and the bad, both, right? So they can actually guide you. And that's where, that's the job of a real estate agent. So I'll give a simple example. For example, just like how I said, we are all licensed to work across Ontario. If I have a client looking to find a home in, let's say, Scarborough, up east in Ajax or Pickering, would I go after them? Well, I will frankly tell them that, you're better off working with a local agent for two reasons. Because A, it may not be feasible for me to commute all the way to show you some homes. Secondly, more importantly, I'm not familiar with the good schools, the good neighborhoods, the good and the bad of some streets of Scarborough, Ontario, right? So that's where it becomes so much important for you to work with a local real estate professional. And many buyers, more than you would think, do not realize the importance of this. So avoid that mistake if you can. Work with the local real estate professional, and that'll go a long way for you. And finally, I'll say never ignore your gut feeling about a house or about the neighborhood. Now, this might sound like a cliche, but more often than not, like we oftentimes see the buyers, for whatever reason, they're not clicking with the house that we just saw. And although like many buyers actually do feel the pressure of that fear of missing out, because the house is getting multiple offers, and they're like, you know what, maybe we are willing to let go with what we feel and how we feel about it. Maybe it is just us, but I always say, you as a buyer, I mean, you are arguably making the biggest purchase of your life, and you have to be in the driver's seat, and you have to ask yourself these questions. Did we get the right vibe about that house? Did we get the right feel about the neighborhood? And do we see ourselves, living in that house and the neighborhood? If those questions are really giving you that confidence, then yes, your gut feeling is right about it. But if for whatever reason, if you're not connecting with the house and the neighborhood, then it might be best for you to just walk away and move on to the next one. Never feel that pressure of getting into something that you're not 100% sure about. And on the other side, if you do find that for whatever reason the house is just connecting the right way for you, then I would say go all in with your heart and soul, because after all, you just need more than money to buy the house these days. You have to put your heart and soul into it to really make it your own. So that's what I'll leave you with. Never get carried away, and never ignore your gut feeling about a house or a neighborhood. Maybe you don't know the reason why you don't feel right about it, but it might be best for you to walk away and move on to the next place if your gut feeling is not right about it. Now, these are some of the common mistakes I do see buyers making oftentimes in their journey to buy a place, whether it's in Kitchener or somewhere else. Let us know in the comments below if there is some other mistakes that you or someone in your circle has made in the process of buying a home. That'll definitely help many buyers avoid some of those mistakes in their journey to find a place. And nonetheless, I hope you did get some value. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and tap on the bell for notifications. You can be the first to learn about the current market in and around Kitchener. Once again, whether you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, be sure to reach out. All the info is right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Kitchener. Until next time, well, I do hope to show you around town.